as AI foundation models develop. Mothercare said this morning it had begun talks with its lender to change, renegotiate or refinance its debt facility. The specialist retailer for parents and young children said this was due to higher interest rates and added it is also considering various financing alternatives, including a possible sale of new shares. In the meantime, it said a delay to return to pre-COVID-19 sales levels, particularly in Middle Eastern markets, meant it could need waivers to conditions to be reset with its lenders. The shares in Mothercare down now by more than 20%, as you can see on that news. Well, Wall Street sold off last night after the Federal Reserve took US interest rates to their highest level for 16 years, with a number of mid-sized lenders tumbling amid concerns over the health of the banking sector. PacWest Bancorp fell by 52% and Western Alliance by 23%. PacWest indicating it's in talks with partners and potential investors over its strategic options. Well, stocks in the Asia-Pacific region had a largely positive session overnight. Despite that news out of Wall Street, Hong Kong and Shanghai were both ahead on gains for financial stocks. You can ignore the figure for Tokyo in the top left-hand corner of the screen. That was shut for a second consecutive day due to public holiday. Well, in Europe, stocks are largely in negative territory ahead of this lunchtime's decision from the interest rates from the European Central Bank. Talking points this morning include the Danish drugs giant Novo Nordisk, a company we've talked about a lot on this programme of late. The shares are off some 5% in Copenhagen. That is on news that it's reducing the supply of some dose strengths of its obesity treatment Wegovy in the United States. Well, here in London, the FTSE 100 is also in negative territory right now, currently off just over 0.5% in a broad-based decline. That fall, 43 points off right now, would have been worse were it not for Shell. That's added some 13 points to the index on its own. In terms of the major talking points this morning, well, Hargreaves Lansdown is the leading blue-chip gainer, currently nearly 3.5% to the good. That's on a trading update. And the gold miner Endeavour Mining, that's ahead by some 2.5% for similar reasons. On the downside, well, there are a lot of stocks going ex-dividend today. In other words, they're trading for the first time without rights to the latest payout. So the leading fallers there, Glencore, Hiscox, the insurance company, and St James's Place. If you own shares in those particular companies, don't worry, that's just because they've gone ex-div today. Outside the FTSE 100, well, Domino's Pizza is ahead some 1.75% right now. Well, it's actually only 0.75% right now. That's on a trading update. Lion Trust Asset Management, really interesting company this. We've had the CEO on the programme in the past. Their shares price off some 5% right now. That's on news that it's paying £96 million for the Swiss fund manager GAM. Never a quiet moment at Lion Trust. Fascinating company, that. On the foreign exchange markets, ahead of the European Central Bank decision, it's all pretty quiet. Sterling more or less unchanged against US dollar, very slightly ahead against the euro. Meanwhile, the single currency off nearly 1/6% right now against the greenback. As for the oil price, well, that has actually perked up this morning on hopes that the US rate tightening cycle is at an end. A barrel of Brent crude is currently changing hands at $73.22 a barrel. That is up 1.25%. We're joining me now live from Hong Kong. It's the investment director at Fidelity International, Catherine Young. Catherine, good to see you this morning. What was the impact of the Fed's decision on Asian markets? I mean, I commented there that financial stocks in Hong Kong and Shanghai both doing well today.
Yeah, so a lot of the news flow regarding the Fed was already priced in, so no major impact. And in fact, people are still looking at the data flow primarily from China to ascertain whether this economic recovery is still on track. So interestingly, we've just seen the release of the Labor Day holiday data, especially relating to the consumption theme, because consumption is so key for economic growth. And some numbers looking actually quite interesting there.
What you've been alighting on, though, Catherine, is the fact that there seems to be a bit of a disconnect between markets and some of the Chinese data right now.
Yes, it seems very odd because the economic data is going in the right direction, somewhat surprising on the upside, yet sentiment as well as market performance is very, very sluggish. So you get the sense that people are somewhat treading water. Some of this could be related to geopolitical concerns. Some of it could be related to, again, this ongoing need to see visibility about whether this economic recovery is indeed sustainable. So it does feel a bit weird at the moment, or a bit strange, given that the economic data is so positive.
Catherine, I mentioned Japan. Obviously, it's closed for Golden Week just now. But, I mean, the Japanese stock market has been on a real tear recently. What have you made of that?
Yes, I think because it's just sort of been in the wings, so as to speak, and the data again is looking very attractive. We've been finding a lot of very attractive opportunities in the smaller cap tech space. So sort of these innovative companies, which look awfully similar to what the Chinese innovative companies look like. And you've seen a change in terms of corporate governance rules in Japan, so they're really rewarding minority shareholders, something we've been anticipating for quite some time. So Japan really is likely to continue to do well.
And elsewhere in the region, the other big talking point this week, I guess, was that surprise interest rate rise from the Reserve Bank of Australia. Really caught people on the hop.
It did, and I was just actually in Australia for a personal holiday, and you can see that the inflationary pressures are definitely there and real. So the RBA or the Reserve Bank really trying to keep up with taming or reining in inflation. And again, from a regional perspective, from a global perspective, the only regulators or policymakers which are at the other end of the spectrum are the Chinese, so the People's Bank of China. And maybe again, this is why you're seeing this treading water phenomenon, because the PBOC isn't throwing everything in terms of easing. In fact, they're being very pragmatic and very targeted with their policy.
All right, Catherine, we have to leave it there, I'm afraid. Hope you had a nice trip to Oz. It's good to see you again.
Thanks, Ian. Take care.
Now, barely a day goes by without a fresh revelation about someone having their data or website compromised by hackers. Yesterday, for example, brought news that a Russian spy network has acquired sensitive technology from EU companies with the aim of supporting Vladimir Putin's war in Ukraine. Well, that has served to underline the changing nature of the threat, with mobile gaming currently seen as the latest breeding ground for hackers. Well, joining me now from Vienna is Gustav Salmon. He's chief executive of the Norwegian cybersecurity firm Promont. Gustav, welcome to you. Why has gaming become the latest target for hackers?
I think it's a breeding ground where we can try a lot of new attack vectors. You can try a lot of malware and see if that works. And of course, you have a very big distribution of these games on a mobile basis, on a global basis. So of course, we're seeing, and also it's a generational thing that you have a lot of people being acquainted with these games and being quite savvy at trying to attack them. And then they learn these things, and then they can apply those techniques for attacking other parts of the infrastructure which are more sensitive even than the games itself. So
that's very interesting. I mean, they're not necessarily just trying to steal data. They're using this almost as a learning exercise, you're implying.
Exactly. We're seeing, now we're seeing the advent of a world where, of course, you have things like, in the AI space, you're being weaponizing the bad guys in a way that wasn't around before. And you're seeing a much richer set of attacks against different types of the app ecosystem. Which is the part where we're playing and securing the apps.
One of the areas that you were quick to alight on a few years ago was connected cars. Is that still as big a threat as it once was?
Of course, we live in a networked society. Everything is connected to the internet, and everything is we protect any app anywhere, and of course the car it's good if the car does what you think it should be doing, rather than the opposite. So I think the car industry, everything which is it's the world we're living in. Everything is connected. Everything is attackable. And that's just to deal with, because that's part of how we live our lives today, and we have to make sure that security comes first. Security is really transformational. If you want to do as a company, if you want to do a mobile strategy, you have to make sure that you have your security in place beforehand, because otherwise, you're going to be running, it's a train crash waiting to happen.
Okay, Gustav, I'm so sorry. We're going to have to end the interview there because we've got a bit of breaking news to bring the viewers. Do appreciate you joining me today. Thank you.
Thanks, Ian.
Yes, we're going to go across now to The Hague. The Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky is speaking. We're going to listen in.
And do not tolerate tyranny as much as we do not in Ukraine. Thank you very much. Dear Minister Hoekstra, dear members of Parliament, dear ambassadors and journalists, dear representatives of international organizations, political and judicial communities, dear people, first of all, people of the Netherlands. And I'm glad to be in your strong country now. now the land of freedom and justice, which are universal values, and it is about these things that I will speak today. Of course, we all want to see different Vladimir here in The Hague. The one who deserves to be sentenced for these criminal actions right here in the capital of the international law. And I'm sure we will see that happen when we win, and we will win. And when we win not just on the battlefield, not just against this aggression. Look at how countries around the world are coming together to help Ukrainians defend themselves. What is at the heart of this desire to help? The feeling that more than the fate of one country is at stake. The feeling that more can be achieved than the defeat of one aggressor. We can now stop wars of aggression as such. We can defeat aggression as a criminal idea that originates in the mindset of someone who is used to impunity. Impunity is the key that opens the door to aggression. If you look at any war, any war of aggression in the history, they all have one thing in common. The perpetrators of the war didn't believe they would have to stand to answer for what they did. They must stand to answer for war. However brings war must receive judgment. Ladies and gentlemen, defeating impunity of aggressors means destroying the origins of aggression. Victory in the war is won by force of arms. That's how that job gets done. And I'm grateful to you and the Netherlands for every piece of weapon supplied to Ukraine, for everything that helps us to maintain our defense and gradually prepare our active actions. But we know that the lasting peace after victory is achieved by nothing else but the strength of values. First of all, it's the strength of freedom and of law, which must work to the full of ensure justice, not hybrid promises instead of human rights. Real freedom, not hybrid impunity and symbolic formalities, but full-scale justice. Not hybrid peace and constant flashes of violence on the front line, but reliable peace when one respects values. True freedom, true justice, true peace is respected instead of hybrid forms. But it's exactly what we need now. Please think about one number. Now, this number is 6,139. This is the number, contradict number of war crimes committed by the Russian occupiers this April alone. These Russian crimes led to the deaths of 207 Ukrainian civilians. Among them are 11 children. Another 17 children are 400 adults were injured in a month alone. And the full-scale Russian invasion has been going on for the 15th month. Just yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. In our Kherson region alone, Russia killed 23 people. 49 were wounded. I'm speaking about civilians. And it all started more than 9 years ago with the occupation of our land, with the occupation of Crimea and Russia's bloody hybrid war in the Donbass. Thousands and thousands of war crimes, thousands and thousands of victims. the Russian rocket that killed 23 people in the city of Uman, and each of the millions of strikes fired by Russian artillery in the Donbass. Every person killed by the occupiers in Bucha, and every filtration camp that Russia set up on our independent land, every prisoner who was tortured in the Russian captivity, and every city deliberately burned by Russia, and all the pain suffered by the Dutch people after the downing of MH17 flight with the use of the Russian weapons by the Russian hands, exactly by the Russian hands. And please observe a minute of silence in the memory of all those whose lives were taken by Russia by its terror. Please. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, only one Russian crime led to all of these crimes. This is a crime of aggression, the start of evil, the primary crime. There should be responsibility for this crime, and it can only be enforced by the tribunal. Europe and the world have already had to deal with something like this. As a result, we can see the following words in the text of the judgment of the International Tribunal in Nuremberg. To initiate a war of aggression, is not only an international crime, it is a supreme international crime differing only from other war crimes in that it contains within itself the accumulated evil of the whole. That's absolutely true. We must transform the experience of the Nuremberg process into an operating rule. That's why we insist on the tribunal creation. When there is a tradition of inevitable punishment of aggression, then there will be a tradition of guaranteed non-repetition of aggression. If we want true justice, we should not look for excuses and should not refer to the shortcomings of the current international law, but make bold decisions that will correct the shortcomings of those norms that unfortunately exist in international law. This is exactly what the creators of Nuremberg did. We should do the same now. It would be a weakness for you and for us and for all of the nations to leave full justice only to history. It would be unfair to our children and our grandchildren to hand them problems that we can solve. That's what the tribunal is for. The sustainability of peace arises from the complete justice towards the aggressor. Ladies and gentlemen, it is wrong that someone in the world is still afraid to give full force to justice. You and I are not afraid, and I'm sure most of the world is not afraid. The aggressor must feel the full power of justice. Yet, this is our historical responsibility of the modern generation to make the total punishment for aggression inevitable, to prevent the aggression against our country and also new wars. There are potential aggressors in the world, and the world must see justice to see peace fully secured. Ukrainian courts will ensure responsibility for most of the crimes of the Russian occupiers, and I'm very thankful to the International Criminal Court and to the entire team working with the ICC for the sake of justice. But only one institution is capable of responding to the original crime, the crime of aggression: a tribunal. Not something hybrid that can formally close the topic, not some compromise that will allow politicians to say that the case is allegedly done, but a true, full-fledged tribunal, true and full justice. And I'm thankful to you, the people, leaders of the Netherlands, Prime Minister, the government, the Parliament, for being with us on this path. It's so important for us, and I thank you for supporting the establishment of the special tribunal, and I'm grateful that the International Center for the Prosecution of the Crime of Aggression will work right here in The Hague. And same here in The Hague, the Register of Damages from Aggression will be established. And this is a step forward to creating a compensation mechanism. Damages from aggression must be compensated at the expense of the assets of the aggressor himself. And this is also a punishment for war as well as justice. I thank you for the fact that for you and us, justice really matters. Thank you, the Netherlands. Let justice really work. And when today, as always, on the 4th of May, at 8 o'clock in the evening, you will honor the memory of all those whose lives were taken away by the wars, by the Second World War and other wars. Please also remember Ukrainians, men and women, adults and children who would have been
This is Starr Radio UK.
But for this aggression, the war we didn't want, the one we have to make the last. And we'll
This
do
is
it.
Starr Radio UK.
Thank you so much.
That was President Zelensky of Ukraine there speaking in The Hague. Among the things that he said there is that he wants a war crimes tribunal to be set up, and he wants Vladimir Putin to be brought
from
before it to
Sendwave is a money
punishment
transfer
from
app
the
that is used by
international
people all over the
community. We'll
world to
get
send money
reaction
to
to
their
that
loved ones in
speech
Africa.
throughout the morning
With
here on Sky
Sendwave, you
News.
can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, Sendwave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use Sendwave? Sendwave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about Sendwave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Star Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination in time. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820. Or you can visit our website www.welllamp.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamp@gmail.com. Well Lamp Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy.
Hi there. Are you dreaming of owning your own house in Ghana? Then you will need a well-documented piece of land that is free from troubles. I highly recommend My Africa Property for any size of land that you will need. With My Africa Property, lands are available in Pram, Sopoli, Tohenia, Ogome, Dodova, Winneba, and many other locations at affordable prices. These locations are about an hour away from the airport, only 35 minutes from the motorway, 10 minutes drive from Central University College, 10 minutes drive to the beach, and close to Pram Senior High School and Ghana Men's Soccer Center of Excellence. For more details, visit our website www.myafricaproperty.com or call our UK office on 0208 123 2523. For our US and Canada offices, call us on +1 585 184 994145. You can also email us at ghana@myafricaproperty.com.
The best radio show. Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
All around the world. In your car.
At work.
At home.
On your smartphone.
This is Starr Radio UK.
Are you ready to turn it up?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Smile though your heart is aching. Smile even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. Hey, this is Archie and you are listening to Starr Radio UK and the Morning Show.
This is Starr Radio. This is
UK.
Starr Radio
UK.
This is Starr Radio
UK.
Welcome. Broadcasting worldwide.
Love for you runs deep. All of you makes my heart beat. You make a doubt they fade. Jesus, and that's what makes you great. You hold the world
Okay, let me say massive good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you wherever you might be on planet Earth, and those of you on other planets as well. We want to salute each and every one of you, and we want to say once again, welcome to the Thursday edition of the morning show. Today is the 4th day of May, the year 2023, with the time now 10:42 from the House of London. From now until 1 o'clock, I'm going to be your captain, and I'm going to make sure I deliver on the promises, not like the politicians do. But we say it once again, from archaeology to zoology, from Accra to Zanzibar, it's making the headlines. Why not? We're going to touch on it. Well, let me say good morning to my team this morning, Mr. Olayomi, Mr. Frank Davids, and my able producer, Mr. Francis Guy. To Felix all the way in Aberdeen, Kojo D in London, to Anthony Adedeji, Aziz, Olakunle, Shamsuddin, and my bishop himself, Bishop Adesina. Good morning to you, Pastor Momo. Good morning. Hey, Pastor Emmanuel Chidi, long time no here. I hope you are doing very well. Reverend Michael Esiama and the team, all at Power Word International. Massive good morning to you. Jesus. Also, let me say good morning to Tassino all the way in Moscow. And as I will put it, all protocol observed. Once again, welcome to the program. I remain yours sincerely, the one and only.
This is the morning show with Archie.
And that's what makes you great. You are
Okay, so my world program outline, for those of you who have not joined us before, it's your first time of joining in. My bishop again, Bishop Adesina. Yes, he said good morning, Starr Radio. Okay, we salute you, our bishop. Well, I'm going to bring the quote for the day, the weather forecast to follow suit, then the travel update as well. We'll move on from there to have a look at some of the stories making the rounds across the globe, known as Global Trotting. We'll leave there and then bring you all the stories that is making in-depth the headlines from Nigeria. The updates from Nigeria with Mr. Olayomi at 11 o'clock. I will continue from there to look at some of the other stories making the round. At 12 o'clock, the lines are open for you to add a voice to the discussion. We'll continue from there, and then exactly at 1 o'clock, the curtains are brought down for the end of the program. So in a gist, that's what's going to be happening. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Let's kick off. So the quote for the day says, no amount of resources can make a man with the wrong paradigm succeed. So you can have all the resources, but with the wrong paradigm, oh my goodness, you will not go far. So work on yourself and you can go very, very far. I'm moving on straight to the weather front. What is happening on the weather front this morning here in London and the southeast of England? Yeah. Well, we're going to be experiencing a band of cloud pushing in from the southwest, but also a good deal of sunshine. It will remain largely dry with moderate winds. Now tonight will start largely dry with a patchy cloud interspersed with clear spells. It will become cloudier overnight, and there is a chance of a few showers during the early hours there as well. Top temperature is going to be 19 degrees, the lower is going to be 12 degrees. Pollen level high, UV level high, pollution low, sunset 2028, and sunrise for tomorrow morning 0528 hours. And that brings us to the end of the weather forecast. It is Starr Radio UK. We take a commercial break. We come back and I'll bring you the travel updates. Don't touch the dial. Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
This is Starr Radio UK.
Okay, so keep your eyes on the roads. Keep your eyes on the roads. So we're keeping updated. I promise I'm on the Starr Radio Travel Update that comes to you every weekday from 10:40. It's now 10:47. What's happening in the travels here in the UK? Well. Those of you in London traveling on the underground, not secular, my apologies. There is good service throughout there. DLR has got good service, London Overground and London Tramlin, good service there as well. But when we go to the major roads in London, everyone is doing good apart from the not secular A4 roads that has got serious delays. And as I did say yesterday, if you can avoid it, do your best to avoid that. Is due to some traffic lights that are not working there. But please, there is a slow traffic, and as much as you can avoid getting into there, do your best to do so. Now, when it comes to the riverbank this morning, good service throughout. Also, the landing cable car has got good service there as well. I'm moving on to the final segment of the travel update. That is the National Rail this morning. Cross country has got minor delays. East Midlands, First Transpennine Express, Northern Rail, Southwestern Railway, and Transport for Wales have all got minor delays. Great Western Railway has got severe delays. So if you can avoid it, do your best to avoid it. That aside, all the others, good service there. And that's how I'll say it once again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you wherever you might be on planet Earth. Enjoy your commute for today. But you know what? Continue to keep those eyes on the road.
Guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Starr, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Welcome back to the program Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. It's now 10:50. That means it's time for Global Trotting. Yeah, what is happening from across the globe? Yes. Let's get on with it. Now, when it comes to what we're going to be looking at in Nigeria, yesterday there was a smasher of a program when it came to the Niger Voices. When Olayomi comes on, he's going to be giving you, those of you, especially those of you who missed out on it, some excerpts of what was discussed. But Nigeria to spend next 40 years repaying controversial 23 trillion naira. That's what the CBN overdraft to the federal government. Well, what a wonderful overdraft. I wish I have an overdraft like that. The CBN, I think I will be enjoying living all the life of billionaires. Meanwhile, I don't have the money to pay for it. But well, 26 days to go. Outrage as Senate approves Buhari's 22.7 trillion naira extra budgetary spending. Where are they going to be making the money from to support that? Well. But whatever it is, they've done it, and lots more going to be coming your way from there. It is Starr Radio UK. Now let's move on to some other stories as well. Now, prominent Nigerians calls on US to classify Nigeria as country of particular I'm going to tell you more about. Let me tell you that headline is quite an interesting one. Now, prominent Nigerians call on U.S. to classify Nigeria as a country of particular concern. What concern is it? Well, I'll be telling you more about that once the program goes on. All right then. Now moving on straight to other stories making the rounds as well. Burkina Faso alleges foreign interference and violation of its airspace. The Burkina Faso defense minister on Wednesday denounced what he said was an international coalition lined up against his country and alleged they are interfering. Now, what do you think is happening there? Is it the ECOWAS? Is it the French? Is it who? Well, we're telling you more about that as the program goes on. Hundreds of thousands try to flee Sudan as fighting continues. Flee to where? All right. More going to be coming your way from there. 3% of Wales suffered acute food insecurity last year. 3%. My goodness. Meanwhile, there are some countries where, like even this part of the world, where we keep on chucking food. At times I look at the bin at home, the food bin, and I get angry at my kids because I tell them that if you were living in some countries, you will not have the food to eat, talk less throwing it. It's not that it's gone off. No. They dish too much and then they decide to just chuck. After they've eaten just a bit, they decide to chuck the rest away. Now, we don't want to do that. But, well, that's what is happening. From Starr Radio UK, bringing you more that you need to know. Sahel region singled out on World Press Freedom Day. Well. Namely, they were looking at Burkina Faso, Mali. But what about some of the other countries? We want to be looking more into that. Do you think that press freedom in Ghana, in Nigeria, and everything, do you think they say, oh, you know what, we are practicing democracy? Is it real democracy when it comes to press freedom? The fourth arm of governance? Well, we'll tell you more about that. It is Starr Radio UK. And I'm moving on straight to Ghana as well. National Cathedral was registered in the US using dead man's details. Ablakwa alleges. He's keeping on. Well, I saw, KB, let me say good morning to you. You posted something. I don't know what I said, a book or a question and answer book, whatever. I don't know what course that is for, but one of the questions in there, who are the ones who are sabotaging the the National Cathedral project? And they were saying the objective, the questions, the answers, the possible answers were the opposition, the teachers, a few of them. I looked at it and I laughed, and I said, really? Well. Lots more going to be coming your way. Well, we had the presidency that's in Ghana saying that they were calling on Al Jazeera to come out to apologize to the president unreservedly. But Martin Amadou says Al Jazeera Gold Mafia documentary Akufo-Addo rips what he sold. And some other stories also saying that, well, it says we don't owe Akufo-Addo an apology, Al Jazeera suggests. So what are we going to be seeing there? Lots more going to be coming your way from there. Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Well, one of the presidential aspirants for the NDC, that is in the person of Dr. Dufour, has said that MPP lacked men to revamp Ghana's ailing economy. Well, that means that he's also saying that we've got the man, and that's what the mantra of the MPP and its leader, then a candidate Akufo-Addo, when they say we got a man, and they came in and the men have actually rocked everything. Now, what do you think about all that? More going to be coming your way from this. It is Starr Radio UK. Now, moving on to some other stories making the round this morning. Putin should be sentenced for criminal actions. That's what Zelensky is saying. But interestingly, I've been asking myself, what do you think that attack on the Kremlin would have done? And why should Ukraine go and attack the Kremlin? So, is it more plausible that Russia did it to change the narrative? Is that what seems to be happening there? Well, you might not know, I might not know, but more are going to be coming your way from there. So wherever you are, stay tuned and don't even think of touching the dial this morning. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. One other story, a couple of them, and then we will bring you some music before we have Mr. Olayomi joining in. Well, Now, Erdogan rival pledges to restore Turkish democracy. The Turkish president's main rival, Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu, vows greater freedom if he wins the elections. Now, interestingly, Erdogan has been taken ill and he's been out of the public's view for some time now. We're not sure what exactly is happening. Some were alleging that he was seriously ill, but he was on the TV program when he fell ill, and then he was rushed out, or the whole program was paused. So we'll be following and see what exactly is happening there. Okay, here in the UK, how many days more for the King's coronation? But well, voters head to the polls in England's local elections. Some 8,000 council seats are up for grabs as voters decide who will run services in 230 local councils. But well, London is not part of it, so we're not going to be voting. But others were doing. But I wish that is the time that London was also involved, and then we'll see that ULEZ whether the Labour Party candidate, who is the mayor, would have had a chance of winning the elections at all. But well, let's follow it tomorrow morning. We'll be telling you more about who has won what. Okay. Now moving on. Branson feared losing everything in pandemic. Sir Richard says the pandemic left his business near collapse and him a little depressed as well. And women speak out over police sexism. The 4 women, including a former deputy chief constable, are encouraging others to come forward. Me too. All right then. So, one other story. Singer-songwriter Linda Lewis dies age 72. Lewis had solo success in the 1970s and sang backing for the likes of David Bowie and Rod Stewart. So those are some of the stories making the rounds. But a final one that might have just popped up: AI to be probed over consumer protection fears. Competition watchdog to investigate whether AI development is in consumers' best interest. Lots more coming your way. Stay tuned and don't touch the dial. Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Let's enjoy this tune from the Joyful Way, and it says Ongukofila. It's in South African language, so if I'm not able to pronounce it the way, just enjoy that music. And then we'll be back with you. Stay tuned. Don't touch the dial.
Maleba ako alis
Starr Radio UK. This is Starr Radio UK. This is Starr Radio UK.
Starr Radio UK, some lovely tune this morning, wherever you might be enjoying your day. Well, we are here to also bring you the best in everything that you need to know. Some lovely tune from the Joyful Way Incorporated, a South African one, you know. Music is a universal language, and therefore, even you don't understand it, but the way it's flowing, it makes you move as well. It is Starr Radio UK, and it's now I've got Mr. Olayomi all the way in our North London studios, and I've got Mr. Frank Davis in the studios here as well. But let's go to the North London studios to have a chat with the one and only Mr. Olayomi, and let me say, Yomi, good morning.
Well, very good morning to you back in the studio, Mr. Archie. Good morning, Frank. Good morning to the sound engineer, the production team, and likewise the sister broadcast for those that have joined us and those that are also with us on the Starr Radio UK. And as usual, it is just about the 4 days into the month of May, and a very, very interesting month, both here in UK and likewise in Nigeria, as we go into some of the headlines in just about a few minutes.
Yes. How are you doing?
Well, a little bit tired. I believe the weather yesterday was a little bit confusing, and that is why a lot of Nigerians will say, make sure that nobody calls you with the British weather. On my way to the studio, it was a little bit much brighter, but it seems that on my way back home, the weather dropped a little bit, and on getting home, I just had to have something a little bit warm to keep myself, up there. But apart from that, we're up again in the morning as we're following the news of these 13 years old, that eventually killed, some of these colleagues. It shows that the world itself is full of a lot of atrocity. And that is in Belgrade, where a school shooting took place. I was actually getting the news this morning. Very, very sad news. But again, you might think that around the world is sad until you know that closer to home, there's a lot of other sad news as well, which we're going to be discussing, as another 40 individuals lost their life to the terrorist attack in Benue State.
Wow. Listeners, wonders will never stop happening. It keeps on happening. And some will make you go, oops, but what do you think? All right then, now let's have yesterday we had the Niger Voices, and it was quite another wonderful program. It always has been. And for the sake of those who were not on, so just a quick summary of what was discussed, so that next time you know that if you are not on, you are missing a great deal. But it will be on all the YouTube or the Starr Radio UK platforms and all the other platforms that we are broadcasting on. Over to you, Yomi.
Well, the Starr Radio UK brings up what we call the Niger Voices. This is a program that I've been going for almost some years now, and it's quite a very elaborative and interesting conversation. Yesterday is all about the focusing on Nigeria as well, but in the last almost 72 hours till now, which has not yet been debunked, the president-elect son, Seyi Tinubu, a firm was, coming into the news where about almost 10 to 11 million dollars was paid for a property somewhere in St. John's Wood. There's nothing wrong. If he has the money to buy such a property, but the question around it is that the property in question was seized by the federal government of President Muhammadu Buhari through another corrupt individual, in line with the former Minister of Petroleum, Dezeni. The question then is, how do we get rid of the corruption, and how do we stop, some of these, corruption going on? Was part of the discussion. We also discussed what Tinubu will be facing. It was in Rivers State yesterday where I listened to a bit of what he was discussing there. But the problem I had for him is not just about the insecurity, but we're also going to be discussing, as the headline this morning is popping into our face. It will take Nigeria 40 years to pay back the loan. So if you have missed the Niger Voices, you can watch it back again yesterday. And likewise, I was celebrating on the show 41 years that a man of humanity, a man that had his own role played up to his death in 1982, and that is none but only my only dad. 41 years ago yesterday, every 3rd of the month of May is when the family remembers him. And the question I ask myself is, how many Nigerians, in his own age group will be alive today? I'm probably comparing what Nigeria was when they were born in the 1930 up to those that are still alive. But we do know that after the independence, there was a lot of boom in Nigeria. Money was flashing all over the place. You could get to UK without a visa. But today, as many people wants to get to UK, but you have to apply for the visa, because my dad was in and out of the UK, as much as I could remember. Marks and Spencer was one of his favorite shopping mall. But as many of his age group today are struggling because the country has turned around to what they probably never expected.
Well, listeners, if you missed out on the Niger Voices, that was what was discussed. But there's a lot more. This is just a summary of it. So just go to the Starr Radio UK social media platforms and then just enjoy the rest of it from there. It is Starr, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London, in the London studio. Mr. Olayomi Koiki here with me in the South Studios, Mr. Frank Davis. I'm Archie, and we are bringing you updates from Nigeria on the morning show. Okay, so now, interestingly, you were talking about your dad who passed 41 years ago, and then we were looking at what the economy was like, their way of life and everything. Now we think that advancement has taken place, because 41 years, if you look at the advancement that we're seeing now, but if the country is now going to take another 40 years to be able to actually, that for the country to pay off the 23 trillion naira overdraft that the CBN has given to the federal government, then what hope do we have for the next generation? Yomi.
Well, things was moving, in the hope that maybe today is not what it used to be. If I play back to, I never met him in person, but, for the fact that, he was well known within his own little, congregation, his own network. He was he played a lot of role as a president of one of the favorite club in Nigeria, then known, not a football club, but a social gathering club known as the Constant Star. Like I said, if I look at the life that my dad lived and compare that with his age group today, the question then is, how did Nigeria got to where we are today? And the whole reason for that is because of the system that did not prepare for the next generation. And some of those generations are we that will end up have to pay, through our nose, so that we can be able, to survive in Nigeria. It will take 40 years, like we said, for us to pay back the loan. As we speak today, even though it's just about 26 or 25 days, literally before President Muhammadu Buhari will be handing over to, the president-elect, if all goes as planned with the tribunal, there's already outrage as the Senate has again approved Buhari 22.7 trillion extra budgetary spending. I don't know what he wants to do with that in the next 26 days, but it seems that Buhari has a lot to do before he's going to complete his tenure. But 40 years repaying back, it is nothing wrong when you borrow money, but the problem is if the money has not been used properly, then everybody would have to cough up something out of it. So this is the Starr Radio UK. The Senate yesterday abandoned its previous hardline stance and approved the conversion to a 40-year bond of the 23.72 trillion that the federal government unappropriate expenditure that is funded by the Central Bank of Nigeria, the CBN, through its ways and means window. Whatever that means will be understandable by those, in economics. President Buhari last year wrote to the National Assembly trying to get an approval the amount alongside a fresh 1 trillion naira he planned to take from the window, bringing the total value earmark for securitization to 23.72 trillion for the conversion to a 40-year tenure bond priced at 9%.
Well, listen, it is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. We got Frank here, and he try his best to analyze such things. Let me come to you, Frank. Good morning.
Archie, good morning, and good morning to our listeners as well.
How are you doing?
Strong. Waiting for the king.
Strong and stable. Well. Good. Now we're talking about indebtedness of countries. We're talking about loans that we go in for. And as Yomi did explain there, he said that there's nothing wrong with taking a loan. I mean, if you're taking a loan to invest it in something that is profitable, that will, I mean, maybe now 10 years, 20 years, you're not going to benefit from it, but 30 years thereafter, you see that posterity are going to benefit from it, then it's okay. But looking at the debt, 23.7 trillion naira. Okay, that is overdraft only. So when are we going to see a balance? And is there any hope for the next generation at all?
Actually, have you heard of the word debt trap?
They are stuck in the debt. They cannot make any move.
Basically, it's a cycle. I mean, not to only talk about Nigeria, but look at Ghana yesterday. About almost 750 million. I mean, again, was approved in Parliament. Now, what it is, you are in debt. You are looking to make certain obligations. A lot of times we have collateralized our sources of income. So, if you take Ghana, for instance, you have the GET fund that has been collateralized, which means that any new monies that go to GET fund, the ability to use that GET fund to fund infrastructure and other things has already been sold out. So before the money arrives, it's gone
already spent.
So you have all those kind of things that are happening. Therefore, it shrinks your pipeline through which the revenue comes in. Before the revenue get to your main pipeline, which comes to finance your budget, is be taken away by the collateralization of some of these things. Now you get to a point, if you look at Ghana, take Ghana Gas Company for instance, it's a classic example of what debt can do. We use almost $1 billion to be able to put out that structure. As we speak now, it's one of the most profitable government institutions in Ghana. It's paid for itself.
Okay.
That's what I mean. If you borrow to invest, then you are on a good, because business can fail. Like should the business, let's give and take. 50% of the business succeed, you're going to pay that debt back. But what we've seen, they call it budgetary support. Budgetary support. They borrow into a common pot and then they use it for it. So if you take loans that were approved yesterday, they said they are approving a loan to deal with agriculture, innovation or something for food security. Actually, we've been talking about food security for how many years now? Since 1980s. Since when we had that dry season, then we started talking about food security. Akufo-Addo came and said, Nigerians, sorry, I'm using Ghana as an example. We're talking about what they call planting for food and jobs. What will be more secured in terms of food security than delivering on that promise that, look, we have arable lands. The youth are going to be encouraged into farming. We've voted this amount of money into it, and this is the evidence that, look, this program is work. 7 years down, almost 7 years down the line, we're still importing tomatoes, although we still have arable land, and we still have what they call one village, one dam. The concept of one village, one dam was to make sure that we can farm throughout even the dry season. What is up? You see, because we put politicians, what is happening in Nigeria, I'm not surprised. How would they fund the next budget if they don't do that? But we need to step back and understand the mindset of the people we're dealing with. Politics has become so attractive and is seen as an investment. The moment people begin to see politics and political office as an investment, similar to what you do if you're an entrepreneur. You go and take out the risk, go and do everything that you have to do, steady, do your research, put it for. Sometimes it takes years before the profit begins. Sometimes you dig down like foundation, you dig deep down before you start coming out, leveling up, then you build up. That's what entrepreneurs do, that's what business do, that's why they go for loans and other things. In our case, politically, we see it's an investment. The investment is to lie about what you're doing, your association with those in power already, and then how you actively participate in a power, in basically a political party that might win power. And once you're able to step in there, your investment now begins to yield. And that's why when they see every project that they see is a potential to make money. They have to repay themselves. They have to store for their next generation. And so you ask yourself, all these trillions that Nigeria has borrowed, what is there to show that we have invested this money to secure the future of the generation that is coming? 40 years, someone down who had just been birthed, right? What have they profit? What is that? Probably even they are giving birth to, there's no even a hospital in the area. There's even no school in the area. The mom might have been taken on the back of a bicycle to the nearest hospital. So these are their crimes for where they are located, for not being politically correct or connected. They have to continuously pay their debt. Actually, we are debt trapped. We are in a trap. We can't go. We
can't go forward. We can't come backwards. But Yomi, what are Nigerians saying? Because we sit here, we look at it, and look at the economy and everything here, and we know that these people, I mean, they are always being questioned about what they are doing, policies that they are putting across, and all that stuff. But when it comes to Nigerians, at times, I don't know, we have very learned people. I mean, you go across the globe. I mean, you have people from the West Africa region, area. Nigerians are very learned people. How do they see the whole thing? Are they, like Frankie says, it's a debt trap? A debt trap? Are they seeing it that way, or they think that, oh well, this man Tinubu is going to come, God willing, if everything goes the way that he wants, and then everything is going to be fine. Whether it's going to cause miracles or do something, we're not very sure of it.
Well, let's first, get the full understanding of the ways and means. We've been able to get one of our listeners, on the sister broadcast, Comrade Shegun Ono, here in UK, listening to Star Radio UK, and he has said, ways and means actually means the central bank just printing money if they cannot borrow from the foreign banks or the local bank. It went on to also say that ways and means printing money by the central bank, that means inflation, and that also means this disbasement of your currency. Naira, 2,000 naira to $1 very soon if they don't stop printing. So that gives us a background understanding of ways and means. So it seems that what Buhari is doing is just print us 1 trillion naira and put that into the economy, and eventually it comes back. But the question you asked has got to do with what is the reaction from Nigerians when it comes to the debt of Nigeria. And the only way we can gauge that is to look at, I mean, when I saw this headline, which has been in circulation, as I just popped into the social media right now, and I'm going to be giving you what one of the papers says as well. Nigeria to spend the next 40 years repaying controversial 23.72 trillion naira. But the reaction, varies. So let's look at some of those reactions. But the engineer quickly wants to give us what the headline is saying, as a lot of Nigerians, both home and abroad, will probably not be alarmed, but just a little bit, asking the same question, how do we resolve, this stagnant of, money? And you can see right there, that is right there behind us there, as we have it in the graphs right behind us. So the reaction, let me read what some of the comments is saying. According to @Niguan, I am sure for the next 40 years, Buhari and his cabinet would not be alive, so technically they have inherited our grandchildren's debt. The worst part of it is that history is not forget this evil which they did to Nigeria and Nigerian. We will not forgive. Engineer Ali say, winners and co. House of Shiloh says, may God Almighty have mercy upon our beautiful made country with leadership which has landed us into a country owing debt. So you can tell that the reaction, Dr. Bali says, but if you're willing to increase your profit by at least 80%, then you should be in my private group coaching. It isn't for everyone only. This one is probably, selling something out there. So you can tell that the reaction this morning on the debt of Nigeria is one. And I'm also looking at the network news in Nigeria. This was in April when they were saying that Tinubu's biggest challenge is Nigerians' debt profile and how he will fund all the projects from his manifesto. He should prepare a budget for 2024 and address how he will finance the deficit of 11 trillion. This was discussed, on April 26 in Nigeria. And again, if you look under what the commentators are saying there, those that are, the real commentators on the social media network, having too many expectations from someone would never address you as presidential candidate. No worry, it will soon dance to that. If you take me off for just about 30 seconds, then I'll be back on again.
Okay, listeners, just bear with us. Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Let me have another chat with Frank whilst we getting Mr. Olayomi Koiki back on. Now, interestingly, do you think that it's the West or the advanced countries who are causing us this harm?
Actually, to a large extent, yes and no. Because let's assume that the advanced countries are causing all this. I mean, how do we explain what our leaders are doing? The broad daylight robbery that we see on a daily basis. I don't think the advanced countries will continuously tell you to inflate your contracts by 40%. I don't think they will tell you to deliberately collapse your opponent's business when they don't do that. I don't think they will deliberately come and tell you, even if they've told you that, what is the objectives of you being politics and what controls your thinking? If you fall back to why we became independent, what basically we push or what we aspire to be as Africans, those objectives are still there. The question we should then be asking is, with what you're doing, are we meeting the objectives we set for ourselves as a country from the day we struggled? Probably our great grandfathers started fighting for independence. If the answer is no, then we need to understand why. If you take a typical officer in, let's say, Nigeria, is bribery collection part of what we declared that we are independent or our independent can take? Because if you are a police officer and you collect bribe, knowing that the truck that is coming has no brake lights, they have no hazard warning lights, but they have timber and speeding, and accidents that will occur are part of what you call it. Yes, accident do okay, but if you take a bribe, and I call it a part of an accomplice in that matter, or whatever comes in. At the time of the independence, we're not told that you should, we'll get freedom and have freedom of taking bribes. So that's not what we're told. Again, if you're a minister and all you care about is how to finance, we did not see this type of monocracy called democracy coming. Democracy driven by money, we did not see at independence. If you have told those who fought for Nigeria independence that there will be a day that they will go to vote and people will be killing each other, that the security men who fought, who took arm to drive the British away, that we're going to fight them off, will now become agents of bribe collection to facilitate carnage on their own people. Those who fought for independence will tell you those were not part of our vision. But actually, this is where we are. So yes, the global structure of trade relationship is not something that favors that. But at the end of the day, how many times do we sell to Nigeria? The tension between Nigeria and Benin, to a point where cement produced in Nigeria cannot enter Benin easily Why do we do that to ourselves? But we are happy for the Chinese to dump theirs.
there.
Are you getting me? So, look, we take excuse in what is happening with what do you call it, the West. I do believe they do, but internally we still have a long way to go.
A long way to go. That's what Frank is saying. But do you think we will get there? Is a question that I'm posing. It is updates from Nigeria, 11:29 from the House of London with Mr. Olayomi in the North London studios. I'm actually here in the South studios with Mr. Frank Davis. Now, Yomi, let me come back to you. Now, I can't account for 6 trillion naira ground rent, asks SGF. Fashola tells Senate. Now, this is not 2 million. This is not 10 million. You're talking about 6 trillion naira.
Yeah.
What just I mean swallowed by snakes or some monkeys stole it.
Olayomi is back. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Nigeria is full of different drama depending on the how you wake up on the bed, because sometimes you could drink ogi. I don't know what you call it in Ghana, oka in Igbo language, and some of us will probably order pizza from UK, which is using the the free flow money from the corrupt system. I can't account for 6 trillion. First and foremost, who is Fashola? Fashola is a well-known former governor of Lagos State, 2 times, is the current minister for transport. Minister for is the current minister under President Muhammadu Buhari. But during interrogation, or what we can call the hardcore investigation by the Senate that was set up on March 29, is now pointing that they should be asking Boss Mustafa, who is the SGF Works Minister, Babatunde Fashola. It was a one-time also, when after the NSAS, I mean, we're talking about a few days after the NSAS, he arrived at the spot of the NSAS, and after walking around, he found a camcorder, so people called him the James Bond, because they were wondering how come nobody saw this camcorder, kept somewhere, but Fashola eventually saw it. Works Minister Babatunde Fashola has urged the Senate Hardcore Committee investigating the 6 trillion unpaid ground rent to seek further information from Boss Mustafa, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. Let me talk about the previous Secretary to the Government of the Federation. Babachi, he actually used the money, that was meant to be for, for part of the project, in Nigeria, squandered, and he was removed while Buhari was there on a medical trip. That almost turned to a little bit of fix, because he was actually saying to the Vice President, you have no right to remove me, but he was actually removed. But again, Fashola said this when the Senate Art Committee, chaired by Adamu Alairo from PDP in Kebbi, visited the ministry on Wednesday. The Senate on March 29 have set up this Hardcore Committee to investigate, recover over 6 trillion occur from the non-payment of what I can call ground rent from property owns across the country. The motion was moved by Yusuf from the again PDP Taraba State. So you can see that is the PDP, which is the opposition party, asking where is the 6 trillion. But Fashola says, I am not the right person to ask. You might want to ask the SGF.
I mean, I know when we talk about military, we still have the same old people there. They will come and they can't do anything else. We want to rely on our judiciary, and we cannot rely on them because they have also been compromised. We want to talk about the clergy. They are all compromised. So I don't know what, but at times I look at things and I analyze things, and I wait for the next generation, because I don't know what they're going to be doing unless again we go and calabash in hand begging for our sins when it comes to our debt to be forgiven. But what do you think? Well, Starr Radio UK. Let's move on. We don't have time to look at some of the others. Those who rigged the election know they rigged the election. Even the court might not know, but God knows. This one is from Kadena Onayikan. Wow, so interesting. No.
So it's in your head if you rig the election.
I understand what you're saying, but actually, I think we might have to. I do believe God knows and punishment will go, but I think we have actually put a lot of our inner chains too much in God. I say this because our leaders know that when it comes to certain things, all we're going to say, God knows, God knows. And that is why they continue to mess up with us, knowing that we will always go back and say, God knows, God knows. I believe drastic actions, peaceful drastic actions are needed if we want to avoid some of these things, because we cannot have a situation where it doesn't matter the means, it doesn't matter the ways, it doesn't matter, I mean, whatever you do, once the end justifies, once the end is there, it might not even justify the means. It doesn't justify the means, but you are making it that, yes, I've killed, I've corrupted, I've bribed people, I've bought the election, and here I am as a leader, as a president. Once you make, then what, for me, I keep on saying, I might even tell my children to stop schooling and master the art of committing crime, because if that crime will take them to the top. Are you getting it? Just master the art of committing crime, you know.
Yomi.
Well, as we do know, the Cardinal was having this conversation on the mainstream media in Nigeria this morning, and Frank is right, and sometimes I say maybe the mind and the spirit works together. On my way to the studio yesterday, I was just doing my little bit of live transmission on the on the Facebook, and I was actually showing some tall building, and I said I prayed to God that this building doesn't collapse. This would normally have happened in Nigeria, but I'm sure in this part of the world, if that building is going to collapse, a lot of people will have to collapse with it as well. Let's look at Lagos State. We are getting continuous collapse of buildings, and we also saw Ajao Estate where property were damaged. Like I said on the studio in Niger Voices yesterday, there's nothing wrong to demolish any property that is built very close to the high tension or is blocking what is not meant to block because of the pathway. But the question is, who gave the permission in the first place for property to be built? Is it the current governor? I did ask. Is it the previous governor, Ambode? Or is it the same Fashola that was there? Somebody gave the approval, but it seems in Nigeria and Africa, we put God and blame everything at God. But let's go straight to the next headline, which is coming from Abuja, as Nigerians, the first batch of Nigerian evacuees have arrived from Sudan. The first batch of Nigerians were evacuated from Sudan have now arrived in the country, and at least God has not done that. It has been done by the hard work Nigerian Air Force that have traveled very close to the region where buses were moved. But we hope that the remaining Nigerians would also be picked up as quickly as possible, and we pray for peace in Sudan. Just as we say, we hope things doesn't escalate in Nigeria, especially as so many tension keeps building up on a daily basis. APC and the NWC fails to zone the National Assembly seat. Remember, we talked about this yesterday, and it seems that if that doesn't get zoned, we might then end up having Muslim throughout the whole tenure of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It seems that Buhari is still pushing Agenda 2050. Agenda 2050. Well, you probably have to leave the project to Tinubu. If he's going to be the next president-elect at the moment until 29th of May, when he's fully in there, then we can continue to use the word president. Federal government project a $33,000 per capita GDP. President Muhammadu Buhari yesterday in Abuja launched the Nigerian Agenda 2050, declaring that its implementation would ensure that Nigeria attains a per capita GDP of $33,328 per annum to place her among the top middle income economies globally by 2050. Buhari said the plan will increase the real GDP growth by 7%, create 165 million new jobs, reduce the number of Nigerians living in poverty to 2.2 million in 2050 from 83 million. Well, it is very easy to put this in paper, but in reality, it would take a lot of sacrifice if that is going to be in reality, as we do know. The launch occurred shortly before this week's executive committee meeting that was held at the chamber. It comes about 7 weeks after the FEC approved the policy document last 2 months, March 15, and nearly 3 months after the National Economic Council endorsed the agenda. We have a lot of brilliant people that sit and write all this and debate it, but I believe more Nigerians will probably die before 2050. So more Nigerians are saying, take care of us now, and probably 2050 we can see how that is going to happen. Let's go straight again because time is fast spent. Federal government disconnect the disco from the national grid over debt. Wow. Imagine that the situation of electricity. On my way to the studio yesterday, again, I was, making a joke, with some of our listeners by my, platform, and we were actually debating, pure water, tuturi. Most Nigerians, love the pure water because that is the only form of way you can buy the water. If you're going to buy a bottled water, quite expensive. But I was saying that the pure water that was given to me was not cold, and I would definitely have to sue the seller, and then I will have to make that through the local government. But the question is, 774 local government 774 local government, does any of these local government even have a kind of a complaint section where you can make complaint through the email or make a phone call? And these are so many reasons. But why is the federal government disconnecting DISCO from the national grid over debt? Millions of electricity consumers may be plunged into darkness in coming weeks as the federal government, via the transmission company of Nigeria and the market operator, have begun a massive disconnection of debtor electricity distribution. What actually happened is, most of these individuals that bought these, part of the, the electricity in Nigeria do not even have the capacity in the first place. But according to findings, show that development followed the notice of disconnection from the grid that was served on some of the DISCO by the market operator. According to the MO, the division of the transmission company of Nigeria had informed some of the DISCOs, including the generating companies, of the disconnection plan due to failure to make remittance of the auxiliary service bills. We hope that this situation can be resolved so that more Nigerians will not be in so much pain as they have already. We're going to go straight to the social media at 11:41. If you're listening to us, remember you can follow us on the Starr Radio UK. If you're sending money home to your loved ones, you might as well also say Starr Radio UK with the send waves is the best option as well. As we continue to monitor, the dying situation in Sudan, we're also saying that there's a lot going on in Nigeria that we hope that the international community will continue to look into as well. Tomorrow, here in UK, Ike Kirimadu, we're expecting, a final closure to hit as well. But according to Steve Ang, Steve Ang, as we do know, is a professor of applied economics at Johns Hopkins, and he had actually put something around Twitter this morning. And let's look at what he's saying on Nigeria, just as it does with so many countries. In Nigeria, Peter Obi's supporters are continue their protest against alleged election fraud. These alleged frauds saw President Buhari's handpicked man, Bola Tinubu, become the president-elect, and as we say, more Nigerians continue the protest as well. A police officer gave a student new pair of socks in Lagos. I've seen the video. It's quite, very interesting to see a traffic warden, changing the school uniform of some of the children. He must have watched them pass through so many days and weeks, and she realized that as a mother, if she can afford it, by changing their school, and they look very good. I'm seeing the video right in front of me. These are children heading to school where their new socks been put on, but the question is, we hope they can maintain it, because that is going to be the way out. According to Infan Inworo, this could be anyone's child. Made it possible without Nigeria. This child will still be alive. Save your own life now, that you can, by ending Nigeria before Nigeria will end you as well. And there's so new date for the sit-at-home of a total lockdown. We believe this is going to be from the 8th, 9th, the 10th, the 11th, quite a lengthy one there, next week, as the Biafra will be sitting at home as well. and the two more from the social media. Another influencer, Momo, says, Maurice_Moyi, soon we will get there. This was Nigeria in all of our glory before these old men destroy the country. They enjoy Nigeria, but won't allow the young people enjoy Nigeria. And he was, referring back to a rare footage of the Nigerian Airways 747 arriving at Heathrow, London in 1980. I mean, we've heard about the Nigerian Air. We've had all this has been on paper. There's no Nigerian airplane, and if you're traveling to Nigeria, you'll have to use those foreign airlines, and they could be very, very expensive. So in the 80s, some of these men enjoy the Nigerian Airways, but when it comes to some of them end up using it as taking their girlfriend to London, the whole Nigerian Airways collapse, and there's nothing called Nigerian Airways anymore today. Star Radio UK, I will then come back to you, Archie and Frank, in the studio.
Wow. If you want to go, they have to be listening to stories that come from across Africa. It will shock you. But Yomi, now interestingly, there was this story about yesterday. We did talk about that, where the president-elect was said to have gone to Wike's state. Now apparently, when he got to Wike's state, now Wike is asking for 80 billion naira. He said Tinubu has responded to the Rivers State Governor Wike Nyesom's demand for the refund of 80 billion naira used for the infrastructure development of federal roads in the state. And he saying, I owe you nothing. So they started.
Well, Wike is leaving anyway, so he's probably trying to get the money for the next governor of the state. Rivers State itself is an oil state, so you'll expect that Rivers State should be top notch, when it comes to the state. But we do know that, like I said, Wike was very, very clear from the day one that he's not going to endorse Atiku Abubakar, and he actually endorsed Tinubu, and I can see how Tinubu is been able to travel down there, even though he's not yet in from May 29. So, but Tinubu have told him, I'm not owing you any money, and that literally means that, maybe it's just for the joke part of it, but we do know that Wike listened to Tinubu this morning, and he was giving all the praises for the structure Wike did to make sure that APC won the state for him.
And we know Wike is actually PDP.
PDP, yeah. He was the one against Atiku. Therefore, okay, listeners, it's quite an interesting development there. We'll have to bring the updates from Nigeria to a close. But I want us to, once we come back, you to tell me about the population of the various African countries and the world as a whole. Do you think that has impacted our growth? Because if you look at the number of people who were in existence in Nigeria or in Ghana during independence, there were not that much, okay, or not many. And now we have a boom. And now, do you think that maybe whatever we were having was able to go around, or was enough for us because we were not that many? And now that we are too many, let me put it that way, we are not able to meet that. So what do you think that population has actually impacted us when it comes to economic growth and the challenges that we are going through as a continent? Let me hear from you. And again, when it comes to the electricity companies where Yomi is talking about disconnections that's going to be going on, would you rather have that meter, a smart meter? Here we have smart meters, but pay as you go. Let me put it that way. Yeah, pay as you go. So you're not indebted. I know I have only 10 naira. Prepaid meter. So I have 10 naira. I put 10 naira credit on it, and I have to manage that so that tomorrow you don't come and tell me that
the light doesn't get into it even if you put the 10 naira there. That's the problem. So even if you put the 10 naira in there, the electricity still doesn't get into it. So you might have 20 naira, which I remember, I do pay as you go, in the flat that I rented in Nigeria, and each time I'm there or I'm not there, we make sure that there's money on it. And so many times we have enough money, but there's no light.
So what's the point? They let them come and charge you that you use it. Okay, Yomi, before you go.
Well, Frank and Archie takes you to the rest of the segment. It is Friday as we're looking up to the big event here in London, the coronation. But we still have another 48 hours before Saturday, where Starr Radio UK will be giving you all the news and the headline. Stay tuned with Starr Radio UK. I'll be back again tomorrow. But for now, remember that 40 years to repay back. I'll probably be in my 80s. I don't know how old you're going to be. You might want to put that in the comment section. I'll leave you with Frank and Archie to debate the rest.
All right, Yomi, thank you very, very much. Listeners, that has been Mr. Olayomi Koike in our North London studios bringing you updates from Nigeria. Like we said, you have any questions or anything, suggestions or anything of the sort, feel free to post that and then we will continue with it. Okay, now let's take this song from Mickey Paris. It says, change is gonna come. But the question is, when? How? Maybe we need some miracle, you know. Enjoy it and I'll be with you.
Been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gon' come. Oh yes it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die.
This is Starr Radio UK.
'Cause I don't know what's out there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gon' come. Oh yes it will. I go to the movie and I go downtown. Somebody keep telling me don't hang around. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gon' come. Oh yes it will.
This is Starr Radio UK.
To my brother, and I say, brother, help me please. But he winds up knocking me back down on my knees. There've been times that I thought I couldn't last for long, but now I think I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gon' come. Oh yes it will. Yes it will.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Starr, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
This is Starr Radio UK.
Welcome back to the program Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London, bringing the time now to 7 minutes to the top of the hour. As I did say earlier on, we're going to be looking at how population has actually impacted our economical progress or development. Do you think that has got an impact? Someone would say, yeah, back in the day we had if we have 100 million, that would have been enough. But you look at everything has gone up. Population has gone up, cost of living has gone up, our finances have gone up, our resources have also gone up. So how do we call it? Now, how come that other nations are able to, go through those difficult times and still get things done? But as we listen to that song, cover version of Sam Cooke's song, change is gonna come. Will change come? How soon? It's Starr Radio UK. Now let's move on to some other stories making the rounds this morning. Let's look at them pertaining to yes, on the African continent. The Sahel region has been singled out on World Press Freedom Day. That was yesterday. On World Press Freedom Day, the journalist right group Reporters Without Borders said it was concerned the Sahel region is in danger of becoming Africa's biggest news blackout zone. In a gloomy report published a month ago, Reporters Without Borders denounced a constant deterioration in the working conditions of the local and international press in the Sahel. Now, 30 media outlets, journalists, associations, and freedom of expression organizations on Wednesday called on the ruling juntas in Mali and Burkina Faso to protect journalists in the face of growing threats. Now, Mali and Burkina Faso has been ruled by juntas since 2020 to 2022. Now, the 2023 edition of the World Press Freedom Report points in particular to the risks or the effects of disinformation. Trump will put it, fake news. But Christophe Delory, the Secretary General of the Reporters Without Borders, pointed to leaders of digital platforms such as Twitter's own Elon Musk, who said are not concerned whether the information they distribute are false or accurate. Now, reliable information is being drowned out by a deluge of disinformation, says Mr. Delory, according to whom we can perceive less and less the differences between the real and artificial, the true and the false. One of the major challenges is to put democratic principles back into the gigantic market of attention and content, he says there. Now, in 2/3 of the 180 countries evaluated, the specialists who contribute to the ranking report the involvement of political actors in massive disinformation or propaganda campaigns, according to the RSF. This is the case of Russia, India, China, and Mali. Another phenomenon is fake content created by artificial intelligence. Now, political propaganda, economic manipulation, false content generated by artificial intelligence, disinformation, in the broadest sense, is a major threat to press freedom worldwide, once in its 21st annual ranking. Midjourney, an AI that generates very high definition images, feeds social networks, and increasingly plausible fakes, underlines RSF, citing false photos of Donald Trump arrest taken up virally. Now, we are also witnessing a large-scale manipulation or manipulative productions by specialized companies on behalf of governments or companies. And that is quite an interesting one there. But what do you think? What do you think? This is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Do you think the Sahel region is actually not doing good when it comes to press freedom? Well, Benin orders investigation after attacks that killed 15 civilians in the north. Is it insurgency that is pulling its ugly head in the Sahel region? Well, Benin's President Patrice Talon has ordered an investigation after attacks that killed some 15 people in the north of the country. The government announced denouncing criminal acts. Now, Benin's authorities rarely communicate on attacks in the northern part of the country, where the army is trying to repel incursions by jihadist groups based in the neighboring Burkina Faso. Now, according to local and security sources contacted contacted, 7 villages in the Keru commune had their throats slit by armed men on Monday night, and many others dispersed following this attack. The next day, the commune of Banikora, also in the north, was attacked, and 3 civilians were killed, according to the same sources. On Wednesday, during a press briefing, government spokesman Wilfred Hangabedi offered, on behalf of the president, his condolences to the grieving families after this tragedy. Now, he did not give details of the attacks, but said when these criminals try to gain a foothold and do not succeed because there is a response from the defense and security forces, they try to demoralize the population by carrying out reprisal operations of this nature. So macabre. Now, they want to shock the people and make them believe that the security response is not up to the task, and that they would have their salvation only by rallying to their cause, he added. He also later confirmed to the AP that about 15 people had died. The drama shows us that it is a permanent challenge, he said at the press briefing, lamenting that a failure in the chain of operation prevented the security forces from deploying in a preventative manner. It is all coming away from Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London, bringing the time now to 12 o'clock. So we're going to be taking a break now, and then once we come back, I will bring you more of the other stories making the rounds. I'll be opening the lines as well. But okay, before I take the break, let me open the lines for you so that those of you who want to join in can do so. Yes, if you want to join in, call us on 0208 133 2257 or 58. Those of you in the US or Canada, 0017183032737, 0017183032737. Text or WhatsApp 07539661744, 07539661744. Our Twitter handle is Starr Radio UK, and email address is info@starradiouk.com. Let's take a break.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Starr, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
Okay, it is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London, bringing the time now to exactly 2 minutes past 12, and it is the Thursday edition of the morning show. Wherever you are, don't touch the dial. Just keep your dial so logged on Starr, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Okay, now let's move on to some other stories making the rounds this morning. So on the African front, well, so Burkina Faso alleges foreign interference and violation of its airspace. Now, the story says Burkina Faso's defense minister on Wednesday denounced what he said was an international coalition lined up against his country and alleged there had been violation of the country's airspace. So, who perpetrated the act? And the country's intelligence agency said on April, massacre of civilians, which some rights groups have blamed on the army, was carried out by jihadist fighters dressed as soldiers. Now, Colonel Kasum Kolibeli, appointed by the military junta running the country, also echoed the denials by the new regime's leader, Captain Ibrahim Traore, that the Russian mercenary force Wagner was operating there. Now, a lot of people think it is the Russians who are guiding us, said Kolabali. But the Burkina Bay aren't children. Now, Russia, he insisted, was not setting the rules and gives us nothing. It was the people of Burkina Faso who were contributing to the war efforts against the jihadist insurgency in the country, he said. There is no Wagner here. Kolibali was speaking in Ouagadougou at a meeting with union representatives and leaders of the other civil society groups. He suggested that the international coalition aligned against the country, the members of which he did not identify, was responding to the country's closer ties with Russia since the coup last September that brought the military to power. But the country only asks for what is needed, he insisted. We don't need anyone to send us a single foreign soldier, he insisted. We have our VDP, he added, referring to the volunteers for the defense of their fatherland and auxiliary force. And at the same meeting, Justice Minister Colonel Francois Yamirgo acknowledged that 136 bodies had been buried last week at Kama in the north of the country after a massacre witnesses say was carried out by men in military clothes. Okay. All right then. So that's some of the stories making the rounds from Burkina Faso this morning. But I will bring you some more from those fronts. Hundreds of thousands trying to flee Sudan as fighting occurs. Now, the UN humanitarian chief arrived at Sudan's main seaport on Wednesday as thousands of Sudanese and foreign nationals gathered there in hopes of fleeing by plane or boat. Now, the battle for control of Sudan erupted after months of escalation tensions between the military led by General Abdel Fattah Barhan and the rival paramilitary group called the Rapid Support Forces, commanded by General Mahmoud Hamdan Dagalo. Now, on Wednesday, Martin Griffiths, the Undersecretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief Coordinator at the United Nations, tweeted that he has spoken with both leaders. And he went on further to say, in his arrival in the Red Sea port came on the last day of a shaky truce meant to expire at midnight that has done little to quell the fighting. It also comes amid increasing concerns about the humanitarian situation for those trapped and displaced by the fighting, which is the result of a power struggle between the country's two top generals. But questions remain over how UN agencies can operate with limited staff and supplies amid the chaos. Now, more than a week after a brutal fighting erupted in the country's capital on Khartoum on April 15, thousands of UN workers were evacuated from the city by way of land convoy to Port Sudan. Now, some UN officers paused their services, such as the World Food Programme, after two of its workers were killed in fighting in South Sudan. The WFP has since said it will resume operations. It is all coming away from Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Okay, now let's move on to some other stories making the rounds in other parts of Africa. And this time round, we come to Ghana. Now, during the early part of the week, I think from Tuesday thereabout, I've been talking about the National Cathedral, which the foreign spokesperson, would I put that way, for the opposition party, the North Tongo MP Samuel Kujata Blakwa, has provided some new information on what he believes is dubious regarding the construction of the National Cathedral project. Now, yesterday, or the day before yesterday, was on air. I did talk about some comments that some people have put across, saying that, you know what, we don't want to be part of this, that the cathedral project should be used for as a hospital, build a hospital there for people. But what do you think? This is a project that has started, the base or the foundation has been dug or is still being dug. Now, talking about this time, I mean, in the seventh year of the president's position as the leader of the country, I was thinking about this time we would have had maybe getting to roofing stages, but it looks like that is not what is happening at all, and it's all being clamored in lots of corruption scandals and all that sort. But what do you think? The Foreign Affairs Committee ranking member also provided some documents to establish that a deceased person details were used in the application of the National Cathedrals fundraising arm in the U.S. Maybe the person's details was used after before the person died. Okay. It says, we are pleased to tell you we determined you're exempt from federal income tax under Internal Revenue Code. Donors can deduct contributions they make to you under IRC Section 170. You also qualify to receive tax deductible bequests, devices, transfers, or gifts under Section 2055. And you know that is like gift aid. That's how they registered it, so that the gift aid that organizations, charitable organizations use to make money to raise funds will be given them. But the name Stephen A. Martin. Okay, so I will tell you more about this. That was a letter that was the approval by the Department of the Treasury, Internal Revenue, Tax Exempt, and Government Entitled Entities, and that is what Sam Okujato Ablakwa was talking about there. But it's all coming away from Starr Radio UK. The other time I did talk about the information that was coming in from Al Jazeera calling the Ghanaian president a gold mafia, but he has come to say that, well, I got nothing to do, I got nothing to be ashamed of, and that he was going to be suing the Al Jazeera to apologize. And let me bring you details of that. International media organization Al Jazeera says it has replied to a letter from the Jubilee House which demanded an apology for its recent investigative documentary Gold Mafia. The May 3 correspondence to Accra-based TV3 suggests that the international media network has written back to the presidency following its letter. Now, portions of the response to the Accra-based station explain that we have responded to the letter of the president to the Republic of Ghana, correcting some parts of its content and clarifying various points. The Jubilee House in April 25 letter demanded an unqualified apology from Al Jazeera over its depiction of President Kufuor in its damning documentary. The letter signed by Secretary to the President, Nana Bediatio Asante, stated that I am instructed by the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, to demand formally that Al Jazeera Media Network retract immediately and apologize for airing an inaccurate and unfair documentary that contained spurious and unsubstantiated allegations against the president and the government of Ghana. But Al Jazeera stated that prior to the publication of Gold Mafia, we wrote to the president outlining the claims made by Alistair Matthias. The president's response appears near the end of the documentary. However, the presidency is yet to make public the content of the said response as sent by Al Jazeera. Now, earlier in April, Ghana popped up in a damning investigative documentary conducted into some of Zimbabwe's gold smuggling and money laundering syndicates. In the concluding episodes, undercover journalists posing as a Chinese gangster interact with one of the key parties, Alistair Matthias, to help clean their dirty money. Mr. Alistair, who is described in the piece as a financial architect, told the reporters posing as criminals that he had a track record of successfully orchestrating such syndicates. Now, essentially, he said to be instrumental in designing money laundering schemes for many corrupt politicians in Africa. Now, Alistair named Ghana as one of the countries where he had evacuated similar schemes, adding that, executed similar scheme, adding that he is good friends with its president, who he also claims used to be his lawyer as well. But Ghana's president is a good friend of mine. In fact, he was my lawyer, he told undercover reporters, quote unquote. Mr. Matthias added that he used to be the biggest smuggler in Ghana at one point, raking out about $40 million, that is to 60 million worth of gold a month from the West African country. Now, during the documentary, Alistair outlined his modus operandi to the undercover journalist, suggesting that the most important credentials of his operation in Africa comes from the trust that some dubious politicians have in him to keep their siphoned resources safely tucked away. He revealed that in doing this, the politicians involved do not keep assets in their own names, but rely on proxies. But so now that the apologies have not come, what is happening? Now, citing government infrastructure as an example, he indicated that he is able to take huge contracts on behalf of Ghanaian politicians, inflate the cost, and subsequently split the profit afterwards. In Ghana, I take tenders, road construction, procurement, supplying different things, oil, this, that. They're all the politicians get taken care of indirectly, because it allows me to do all my other stuff freely. For example, Ghana government, Matthias Holdings, I get the contract, I subcontract it to you, 100 million contract, Ghana government pays me $100 million, I give it to you, and you say it's 80 million, he told the investigative reporter who secretly recorded the interaction. In the scenarios, the outstanding 20 million out of the inflated 100 million is shared per an arrangement reached between Alistair and the said politician. It goes on further to say, I have an arrangement with them and they get 15%. I'll probably get 5. If they get 15 million, I'll get 5 million. He added, I'll keep all of it in Dubai. Whenever they want it, they just tell me and I send it. Meanwhile, President Kufuor says had no recollection of acting as a lawyer for Alistair Matthias of his company or his company. But I've got Frank. He came back from Ghana not long ago, so he can tell us more about this. Now, interesting. Now, the presidency penned a letter to Al Jazeera to apologize for that documentary. That whatever they were saying, Trump would say fake news.
Okay.
But then Al Jazeera has come out to say, you know what? Before we published it, we contacted you and you sent us your response to that, and that response was published at the end of that documentary as well.
Yeah.
So if there is anything that the government want to clarify, that should be that they've actually said that, so listeners or viewers will be the ones to judge whether. So Al Jazeera say, we got no apologies for you, Frank.
Why hasn't Akufo-Addo written to the person who spoke?
He said he doesn't recollect who that person is.
Okay, so, but he can get his details and he knows his details. So why doesn't he write to them? Because Al Jazeera did not claim that the guy acted as a lawyer. It's the guy who said that he was once my lawyer, that he deals with him. Everything that was said in that, the journalist did a good job. It was actually investigation that reveals that this is what you are, this is the relationship. You see, Archie, we keep on saying, we always be saying that, look, if you go out, come back, and your car has been knocked left and right, and you want to blame other, you are the problem. Archie, PDS, Akufo-Addo didn't recollect. When he got to Nyantechi, he didn't recollect anything. So when it came to what do you call it, Alan Chamachi's meeting, paid 20,000 for a meeting.
Yeah.
Akufo-Addo didn't recollect anything. So what exactly does he recollect? Archie, is it that he doesn't recollect anything and therefore all his promises he made on the campaign trail also he hasn't
he's forgotten everything?
No, because it's shocking. Archie, we have gone beyond, Ghanaians have gone beyond some of these flimsy excuses. Does Akufo-Addo think Al Jazeera is Peace FM? Are you getting me?
Send their own people to go and say whatever.
Or do they think it's Asempa or Adom FM, Kesmi Radio, Happy FM? Is that what they think Al Jazeera is? These are, I mean, they're touching a president. I have no doubt that they would have done a lot of work being careful before they actually step out with some of these stories.
Yeah.
And Akufo-Addo cannot just, tell us this, cannot use non-recollect. Okay, why are you telling them to apologize if you don't recollect? Could it be that you did it and you forgot?
Forgotten.
So, why must they apologize? The person who is bringing you in is still there.
No, they asked that person. Al Jazeera asked that person.
Go after him.
He said that, no. He doesn't recollect getting any contract himself.
But then what? He doesn't recollect getting. But he said he was captured and saying, "Is it peddling influence?" No, he's not peddling influence, because we know that even in Ghana he's been sued before. He had a problem with gold. So basically, he is involved in gold. There are a lot of things that he said over there that can be verified independently. Are you getting me?
Yeah.
So actually, for me, Akufo-Addo's letter is just what they call it. It was trying to divert attention.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Ghanaians have gone beyond that. The Ghanaians have, look, actually, I am encouraged today about how social media had brought a lot of pressure on politicians, that whatever you do today, someone in a village somewhere will be able to spot that this is a lie, this is true or not. A classic example was it yesterday or 3 days ago that the MPP wing went and publicized a project that they think Akufo-Addo was doing AstroTurf in Bolkatanga. Within a minute, people came and said, no, this is FIFA forward project. They say
so it got nothing to do with the government.
Got nothing, because the government was saying, Akufo-Addo has done this, pretty shortly it will be handed over almost, and that's a good way. And they said, no, they've taken them on social media. So actually, Akufo-Addo cannot just utter a letter. I think that he's dealing with what do you call it, Asempa Radio, where if they don't withdraw, or Peace FM, Kwame or whatever they call it, Safer Kind, where you can pick up before Kwame, I didn't know, and then you just kill the story. These people, the stories they do, they take their time, they've invested in it, that's what they are paid for, and I don't think they're going to back down on this.
Okay, listen to Starr Radio UK. Let me move on to one other interesting topic that we've had for some time now, and I don't know whether that project is going to go on or not, but this is this thing that some questionnaires and with it answers that KB Bossman they post on our group chat. Now he says, let me come to the next one straight. It says, where is the location earmarked by the construction for the National Cathedral? That's the first one. And so we've got the possible answers: Accra, Cape Coast, Ho, and Sunyane. So it's like they are teaching children this thing. We've not finished, but we've published that.
That's a book, yeah?
It's a book. And I know the answer is Accra. Now the second, that's number 200, question number 290. Which section of the population have stood against the construction of the cathedral? And A says doctors, B lawyers, C opposition members to the government, and D teachers.
The question is incorrect. The possible answers are incorrect.
Okay, let me bring you the third one. That's number 291. Question number 2. It says, what are their main reasons for opposing the idea of the National Cathedral? That is for following the 290. And it says, A, the building is not strong. 2, the money for it could be used to create more jobs. C, there is no land to build it on. And D, we don't have people to build it. Now, that is some question that I don't know whether this is an actual book, a revision book that somebody has published that
social studies or cultural studies.
Yeah, I'm not sure whatever it is. But the North Tongo MP, Samoku Jaja Blocker, has provided some new information on what he believes is dubious regarding the construction of the National Cathedral. Now, I have a picture of the National Cathedral site. Now, I'm looking at the buildings that were there. I mean, we had buildings for the judiciary that was at that particular place. They were demolished for this project to take off. Now, 7th year of the president's tenure in office, and it's not come out from the ground yet. So as some people have been alluding, they said, well, it's better for us to build a hospital there or something. But with everything that is going on, Frank, National Cathedral.
Actually, projects do put money in people's pockets. So sometimes it's not when they pretend that they are doing a project. Archie, there are no money is involved. The National Cathedral is a shame, but for me, it's evidence of politics of arrogance and ignorance. That is the evidence we see over there, and politics of lack of planning, but above all, self-seeking, self-centered politics. That is what is National Cathedral. This is a project that Akufo-Addo claimed to have promised God before he became a president. Some of us knew that Akufo-Addo was actively looking for a project, one project that he can do in Ghana that he will be remembered for. He dreamt of, when you go to, let's say, Westminster Cathedral, you see people who are buried there for what they've done and that. That a kind of picture
various
he had. Monuments. He wanted that to be, what can I do so that I will be written in the history. My daddy was prime minister for some time, president for some time, but we do not have a lot of stuff that we can talk about. Even Nkrumah, apart from Nkrumah Museum and other things, what can I do? Rawlings is gone, we have Rawlings Park, but what can I do? And that's where that cathedral pretend to be the one God loves more, and pretend to be, where do I put it? It has to be at the heartbeat of the country, so that you cannot do anything without taking notice
that is there.
You see, so, and the plan was to bury him over the court as a cemetery under.
Oh
yes, yes, that is it. Is to be completed when Akufo-Addo passed on. He must be buried over there, because don't forget,
interesting,
we do, apart from the Asunjwe, where was Rawlings buried? Military, the two of them, Asunjwe Park, the military, Aliu was buried somewhere in I think back in the north for military.
I think in the north.
So we do not have, like the way the Queen, they have a royal vault. We do not have a presidential cemetery, and that's where the whole idea of Asunjwe came in. But Akufo-Addo will never want to be buried close to Atamils. It's
when
never
going to heaven, they're going to be fighting.
No, it's going to
be waiting for him.
Their ghosts even will fight before even heaven journey. So Akufo-Addo wouldn't. So all this was in a plan. He wanted to be buried over there with his headstone, effigy of him, everything there.
This
so that
is the man who built this.
That is it. That's all he wanted. But actually, you see, for me, it's a shame that it has taken us years, because those who are, and again, actually, before I even go to the point, I think a lot has to do again with our hypocrisy as a people. We have Bishop from Manson, a well-renowned and reverend, revered man. I respect him a lot. you have all this clergy over there who could not be bold enough to say that, look, we do not have enough resources. We have Accra International Conference Center here. Should we be having an event here, having parliament, having Accra International Conference Center? Strategically, the roads over there are not good. So who was planning that? Actually, imagine they have even taken this to somewhere in Sawam area.
Yeah.
Pram area.
Yeah.
Heading towards Cape Coast area. Where that becomes an attractive. People made all these arguments and other stuff. Akufo-Addo was adamant. I wanted it. The first thing everyone see
when they come to the central,
when they come to Accra, the seat of the government, because that is basically like the power center of this thing.
Yeah.
Are you getting me? That is what he wanted. But actually, you see, what are we going to do where we are now? Do we cut our losses or do we complete it?
That's the question. Because the foundation would have been done for that edifice. So you cannot say that you want to build a hospital with that. Because the structure, I mean, engineering will tell you that no, it needs to be designed differently.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, actually, what we have now is on a daily basis, we see something like fraud that is coming.
Yeah.
We see something like we see more fraud that is coming. Is becoming fraud and fraudulent on a daily basis. Are you getting more fraud and fraudulent on a daily basis? Actually, the evidence that is coming out, as if schemes have been set up to use the cathedral to dupe from people.
Yeah.
For me, that is a bit of difficulty.
It is sad.
That's a bit of difficulty because from what Ablakwa is saying, let me commend Ablakwa for what he's done so far. He's been able to basically follow this story through and continue to follow it to a point where he has to even go and look at the registered address in the UK. The National Cathedral Authority have come to put something, and actually it doesn't hold water. You read what they put there. I don't know whether they don't respect Ghanaians.
You think that everybody is thinking their head?
They think we are robots programmed from an MPP lab or from, what do you call it, cathedral lab? You know?
Wow. Listeners, it is Starr Radio UK. 12:31 the time. The morning show, the program with me in the studio, Mr. Frank Davis and Archie. If you want to join in the conversation, feel free to do so. But what do you think about what is happening? Well. In your area, are you going to vote today? And if you are, who are you voting for? We'll be telling you more about all that in a moment. Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Now, let's touch on one other story. I know Frank has not been a fan of his presidential ambition. Not a fan of him, no. A fan of his presidential ambition. And when I say that, I'm talking about Dr. Kwabena Dufo.
Yeah.
Now, yesterday, the Supreme Court made some rulings that was, against him. With his the bank, the bank, is it
Unibank, Unicredit.
Yeah. And everything, and saying that the receiver can be called in, which they were trying to stop the case from going on. But they ruled against him. Now we know he's in the quest to become the flag bearer for the NDC. You talk about his age and you think he needs to just go away and just go and rest, and if he can be an advisor, fine. But he's saying that he reckons that the NPP lack men. And candidate Akufo-Addo in 2017 or thereabout or before then, during the campaign was saying that look at the NDC, they've got the men, blah blah blah, and the NPP had the men, and they had the men, and the men have driven the car into a ditch. When I say a ditch, is that even into a valley, and therefore to even retrieve that vehicle is going to be dangerous. Now, what do you think he's saying there? Which men is he also talking about? Is it just like another saying of the NPP that he's also now quoting?
Actually, I think it has to do more of a bit of teasing the NPP. Because NPP came in to say that, look, we got a man and a fortunes your fortunes can be turned around with the men. It's just like going to play football and say, I am assembling the best team. So if you've never won before, let go and represent you. So we've been playing probably coast to coast, and one clan believes that, look, the other clan, we've had players from them and they've not been scoring. Put them aside, let's feature our Akufo-Addo clan, and we can score goals. Here you go and you consider 10 goals. Every day when you are waking up, more goals are coming. Now he stands there and tells you, well, you thought clan NDC was not good. You said you have men. Show us your men. Are they station boys? Are you talking about the station boys, or are you talking about the talkatives? Archie, before, yes, he's done a lot of work. When he was a minister. But you see, before, for instance, he's been campaigning on an angle that I personally do not accept. One, we know we had one of the highest growth rate within that time.
Yeah.
Even internal politics, he now wants to take credit for that. Yes, you were the Minister of Finance, but it's a teamwork. The output of a nation, it is not restricted, it's not limited to what the finance ministry has to do.
Yeah.
Okay? The output, the health of the nation, the education side, the communication side, the agri sector, the road sector, they all combine to become the output of the nation. If the agri minister at that time has not worked, if the cocoa industry has not performed better, as we speak now, the cocoa industry is dead. In Ghana. When I was in Ghana, I was at Hokwe, and you know, from Hokwe going to Jersey Canals, it's a very high cocoa growing area. They grow a lot of cocoa. Boom area are noted for cocoa and other things. One of the officers at Hokwe, CMB cocoa marketing, told me that, look, from April 2022, they've not given them money to pay for what they call it, to pay farmers. So what they do now, they are now facilitating cocoa being given to smugglers because they have the money to pay.
Yeah, they can pay, and then
because he said, look, they bring me the goods, I can't pay because I don't have money. These are poor women, poor old men who have done this is what they have to live on. They have no pension. What do? Whoever will buy the cocoa, I tell them, these people have cocoa, sell it to them, but go and buy it from them, and that's what they do. Are you getting me? So when they send the cocoa, some of us knew this will not work. So actually, in my view, Dufon, I think he should sit back. In my view, he's 80 years, almost 80 years, 80 years. Yes, I understand Joe Biden and other things, but their institution, see, the work, the amount of energy that it needs to be able to drive what do you call it, a grader, it's not the same amount of energy that you need to drive what do you call it, a Tico. Archie, when you go in, you driving and you get on the hill, your engine labors more than when you're on a flat land and you see. When we are now, we are in the valley trying to climb. We need people, we need engines that can go. We don't need Tico.
You go a bit now.
Archie, we don't need Tico, and we need people, we need tanks that can take a lot of fuel. You know, you do not take what do you call it, aircraft with 9 seaters to travel from Ghana to Australia without doing a stop because they have to refuel. So you see, Tinubu has gone to do and has created a permanent refueling line on his body. We do not want that. So in my view, yes, they got a lot of experience, got a lot of wisdom. I mean, even his deputies. Don't forget, Fifi Kote was his deputy. His direct deputy was Fifi Kote. Are you getting me? I do believe he should pack.
But looking at his the infrastructure that he's got, okay, we're talking about the media landscape. I mean, don't you think that he's got the upper hand in there? Because when it comes to politics in Africa, if you got a media behind you and all that, you are gone.
Ajay, let me say something. This has to do. They say we shouldn't talk evil about the late people who are dead and gone. But I always reminded people about what I called J.H. Mensah politics. And Sir Jones recently also reminded us to fear
the delegates.
Archie, if Bossman is listening to me. I mean, we spoke to someone a few days last week actually, and whilst we were talking, apparently politics came in, and the person just made a comment which I pick up. He said, "Look, Mahama is not the type that and this is based on MP. Mahama is not the type that would have wanted as a president. But what do you call it? Dufour is too old." So Bossman asked, "Why don't you like Mahama?" I realized the person was struggling to find reasons because they didn't want to say because of tribe. But you see, everything that was said, I just said, is it because he's not charismatic? Oh, Mahama is not charismatic. But I was also playing around.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you realize that the bottom line for everything is what they've been told, how they've been brainwashed over time.
Yeah.
To a point where now they cannot go back to look at a person they demonized as not being good for nothing, to come to terms that he's better than our angel. Are you getting me? To come in so would have wanted an alternative so that we can have that saying that even him Mahama wasn't good. Even Akufo-Addo wasn't good. So NDC should bring a new candidate, and therefore Dufour. But you see, Dufour, Archie, I'll clap for Dufour. He gets 10%.
You don't mean it.
I tell you.
See, you're going to get converging votes.
If not converging vote, Archie, I've been in situation where have you participated in directly involved politics before?
Yeah.
On the ground.
Yeah.
Have you been to a polling station where your constituency chairman votes but you got 0?
That is what you got. Any point in time, I told you that I was involved in that. After that, I decided I finished with Ghana politics. I'm gone.
Actually, I've been on the ground to a point where a chairman votes at a polling station. They count ballots over there, and everybody got 0. And then you ask the chairman what happened. He said, you have some money to you pay out that money first, and we'll talk. We needed money to do this. No, they were just siphoning money from you. They actually with this
other person.
That is exactly what happened to J.H. Mensah. If I look at those around
Dufour,
Koko Anyudoho number 1. Rojo Metanuno.
Tea Party.
Fris Bafo.
Oh my.
Yabuachi Jan. Solomon Kansa. Alote Jacob. There might be other, but these are, and then we have Humphrey. We have a few of them. Actually, let's analyze them one on one. What they call Rojo Nunu was riding on the phone call he made videoed in 2008 during that, and was sent back into the strong room and failed. His emotional intelligence was weak, and he didn't know exactly what. Actually, basically, look, I've seen a lot. If you get 10%, I'll clap for him. Mark it on the wall. We got how many days more? We got 9 days more. If you get 10%, I'll clap for him. He would have done. Yeah, he would have. Kojo Bonsu will not even get 1%. It did not happen. Not in Ghana.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that'll be interesting. We'll follow it very closely in the next 9 days.
Everything that we do for is from full respect.
You don't mean it.
Actually, I'm telling you, Ghana politics. Look, they know who they want as someone who can lead them. Okay? They know who they want. Mahama is overwhelmingly the majority favorites in NDC. Even MPP now, some, especially Kufuor's camp in MPP will side with Mahama if Alan doesn't win. Because now the battle between Kufuor's side and Akufo-Addo's camp is and whoever becomes the next flag bearer will determine who controls the future of the party. And Akufo-Addo wants to control the future of the party, but the other side are not going to allow it.
Wow!
So see that battle happening.
Let's see what happens. Well. The NDC are saying that, you know what, the Busia Dombo spirit have deserted the MPP, for NDC. So I think the Busia and the Dombo people are now joining the NDC. But what do you think? More going to be coming your way from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Yes, let's move on straight to other parts of the world. And now, yesterday there was this, I don't know whether you saw it, but it's the news that have gone around. This attack on the Kremlin. And then I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the distance from Ukraine to even Moscow to the Kremlin and all that. And I'm asking myself the question, what will Ukraine achieve by attacking the Kremlin? It will just be like stoking fire, knowing that it won't have much impact. But then you know that they are
if
going
you're
to...
able to take out Putin and create a power vacuum, what happens?
Well, you said that there was going to be a struggle there, and then it would disunify or unify them, and then you can get in there. But I don't think they're calculating that.
Archie, for me, I will not rule out anything. But what I believe is happening that there are some people within Russia itself who are working with Ukraine and the Western world to be able to. You saw the bomb that went off in the cafe a few about a month ago. So I do not doubt that there are a few people who are within
Russians who are working
for with, people who have sneaked in. So I do not. This issue about staging it, I am not quite sure about staging it. We live in the West, and the West will always bring its side of it. The other thing that, however, must be questioned is how come with all these layers of air defense system, this thing has to get
drone was able to penetrate through all the right down to that side.
So that will give me this thing that is someone within and someone close to that place who might have launched or they might have launched it from anywhere there. Of course, they should have satellite images over that, so the investigation should be able to establish. But one thing I'm not sure of, and I don't believe him, is when Ukraine president begins to deny anything that happens in Russia as them not being involved. I do not seriously think that is completely true. I don't think they're also working, and the US reports that were leaked even tells her that there are boots on the ground already. So Russia is not only fighting what do you call it,
Ukrainians, but they are fighting
basically a NATO force. That we are a quiescent NATO force. That's the way I look at it.
Okay. Listen, let's start ready. Now let's move on straight to Turkey. Now Erdogan has been I think hospitalized. I don't know. He was taken ill during a press. He was having an encounter with the press, and then he was taken ill. That was sometime I think last week. Now he's not been seen in public space, but the opposition is now seeming to be wrestling itself, coming to say that, you know what, we're going to make sure that promising peace and democracy in that part of the world. I remember when I don't know how long it's been where the coup, the attempted coup took place there, and after that how he came after those people and then took back and rescued power back. But what do you see going to happen? Is Erdogan's time over? Is it going? And
actually, once you stay in power for quite a long time, you then begin to make more enemies. And I have no doubt that he's made okay. I have no doubt that he's made more enemies than he came in. And I have no doubt that what is happening in Turkey could see his end, because for the first time in a long time we then have a coalition similar to what we had in Nigeria. But for the coalition, PDP wouldn't have lost power in Nigeria. You also will remember that when it comes to Ghana, for instance, in 2000, the year 2000, it was a great coalition led by Kufuor. We had CPP and all those coming together that was able to take an NDC out of power. And even that, we had to go to a second where Reform Party led by Gusitano actually internally said, okay, we will back the Kufuor Kufuor led. So some of us might have campaigned for Kufuor on the back of some of those things. So you see, actually, I do not have doubt that they might have gained more strength than they used the opposition, but as to where they're going to win, going to hospital is, or now being hospitalized is not going to work in his favor, because people, but sometimes it could get sympathy votes as well. Let's see what happens. But Erdogan, he's been a strong person, but I do not think that the world is becoming very troubled. We have conflicts, talks of conflicts everywhere. And if you look at NATO, Turkey has one of the largest standing forces as a NATO member. And to a large extent, I do not think that having a soft person in Turkey today, where the US can command, because they might have to come to an agreement where they have to commit a force. All of them has to agree that we want to fight this war. I do not think that having a soft person over there now, we're going to argue for world peace.
Because that's where I was going to come to. Because we see in various, we see in Libya, we see in Iraq that there were strong men where there were excesses. Okay, so we cannot rule that out. But they were the ones who were holding the peace there. So with Erdogan, if Erdogan should not win the election, and this one coming and promising you democracy, and there's going to be democracy and freedom. The moment that happens, then we have people saying the rule of law, and they can do anything and get away with it. So what do you think will be going through the minds of the Western world, or NATO as a whole?
For them, I do not think they worry. If they get someone who is not strong enough, they'll be interested, because you recall recently certain countries wanted to join NATO, and Erdogan said no, we're not going to until certain assurances. If we are now at a consideration stage where we might look at Ukraine and other countries bordering joining. You need someone who can just not be pushed over to append their signature to any deal that is not properly thought through, or which is likely to bring the problem. So you need someone strong there. To be honest with you, I don't know much about the opposition, but if it's going to get to a point where they'll soften their stance on certain things, especially NATO, that I would have preferred the guns being there. Yeah.
Okay, listeners, we are home here now in the UK, where we're going to be bringing the program to a close in the next few minutes. Okay, so voters in England have gone to the polls today. Unfortunately, those of us in London, where we wanted, this is the time that we really wanted an election, but we will not get that, because we really some people don't want the mayor of London and his quest to introduce the ULEZ that is going on. I know a few of the cameras have been destroyed and stuff like that. But looking at the 8,000 councillor seats for 230 local councils, how do you see the fate of the Labour Party first?
Actually, the Labour Party will do a little bit well. They will do well. The people are still losing a lot will be the Conservatives, but we're going to see the Lib Dems outperforming all of them.
Why? What are the policies of the Lib Dem that will make them
actually, when it comes to issues about building, comes to issue about council tax, I know when it comes to council tax, Labour and others seems to charge a lot. But you see, the Lib Dems, they do not have any political the injuries from policies. Neglect this thing is dying down a little bit. Neglect this thing is dying down.
School, tuition fee.
So when it comes, they can stand and blame both parties for anything that is going on. Labour Control Council, they can blame them and tell you, look, it's because of Labour, that's why you are having a lot of council tax. Creating over here, that argument will not hold, because the person in charge now, the mayor over here, is actually conservative. But they will tell you the councillors are mostly Labour. Are you getting me? So it's a bit of dicey situation, but expect the Conservatives to lose a lot of seats, because day by day this migrants issue is having a serious impact on them. They are trying to appear to be strong, and all this noise about Rwanda, they are staged. Part of them are staged towards some of this local election for us to know. They rush through the migration bill is just to show that we are being tough on this thing. It's all about politics. That's why they how do we retain the people's vote. But the effect of Brexit that they're beginning to feel directly in their pockets, because we have been told now that apart from all other G8 countries are going to perform better than the UK. The common denominator that we have over here is the Brexit. That's what it's affecting now. If you look at farmers, they're complaining. Potato exporters are complaining. A lot of them. So expect. And again, they've been in power for 13 years.
But they are still blaming Labour. It's Labour that sometimes.
So I expect them to lose more seats. By 8 o'clock, we should begin to get the results.
But how do you think it's going to augur for the Prime Minister now? If he loses seriously, how is it going to?
Let's clarify thing. Local elections directly do not affect the working of the Westminster.
Okay.
Because these are local elections. It only works to how do you implement conservative policies in local areas, because it's a completely devolved system. Well, whatever we're doing today will not change the fortune of, or will not affect the numbers they have in Parliament. What it you alter is the local assemblies, how bin collections get voted on, how your potholes, the kind of lobbies. ULES, for instance, is not going to be affected because we are not voting. We are not voting. I wish they voted the Labour mayor out. Because the evidence suggests that you having a problem. Where I see a problem is probably Manchester. For Labour. They're going to have a problem because don't forget we have Andy over there. And again, this green initiative. In my view, these green initiatives are okay, but I think you see we're trying to run too fast with them. We're trying to run too fast with them. I read an article by a man in Scotland who bought a Mercedes. Who bought a Mercedes and was like, you know what? I am the kind of person people should be targeting. However, from what I've seen, I used to drive my diesel from where I live to around Manchester or somewhere area, and I can do that without a problem. I timed myself with this that I can go up to 300 something miles. I got to a point, it didn't last, it didn't get to that. Charging it, I charged it for about 40 minutes, tells me full, drove a few miles, it didn't charge the way it's supposed to. The worst of it, when he got back home, where he charges, they've made it, they've come to put a no entry zone, so he cannot even charge. He has to move to another place to charge. When he gets there to charge, they charge him for entering a zone because that's where the only charge point is. So for him, he's doing away with electric Mercedes Benz. He's a middle. He doesn't lack. He's going to buy a new car. He's going to buy a diesel car. So you see, in my view, we're rushing certain things. Bossman who drives an electric car will tell you, Frank, there are some charge points that you go to, you better have not going. It takes time to charge. Right? It takes time to charge. So sometimes I have to go to Bromley.
Wow.
To go and charge. That's where you have the rapid charging points. Are you getting me? And it's also not that cheap to charge.
It's not with the energy prices.
It's not that cheap to charge. Are you getting me? So I mean, technology has to. I mean, they need to improve on the technology a bit. They need to improve on the technology a bit, and then probably a lot of, and then prices will begin to come down.
Okay, listeners, we're going to bring the program to a close, but we want to know what you think. But you know what? Those of you who have posted, thank you very much. Those of you who have been listening to us, thank you very, very much as well. But Frank, before we go,
Archie, let's enjoy the coronation as it comes. But Archie, did you watch a video where they worship a stone?
No.
All right. I really wanted us to find out exactly.
There's a stone from Scotland.
Is it a Scottish stone?
There's a stone from Scotland that they use for the coronation.
Why?
Why did they? And they have brought it because they said the English took it and they brought it back.
What is the stone for?
This is the stone that shows that God was with us back in the day. Maybe a Jacob stone.
There are certain things that are not making sense to me. I mean, you are a pastor. I asked myself, you know, we used to sing a song, ye na nanum, ina bonso na ye de, na ye de, ye besom. I was shocked when I saw a stone being worshipped in a chapel, and I've just sent you a picture, but I'll send you the video.
Yeah,
but I was asking myself, what is going on with this coronation? Because look, I'm seeing a law that I did not expect, that the anointing oil has to go and be consecrated in Israel.
Yeah.
And I asked myself, specially brought by special assignment back to the UK, and asked myself, so Archie, the video I've just sent you, I've just sent you a video. You see the clergy worshiping a stone. And I asked myself, what exactly is going on? Someone should tell me that a stone destiny has arrived for what. And I asked myself, what is happening? And again, if you look at how the oil was made, I saw some videos. Actually, a lot of chanting going on and others than before.
They were consecrating the oil.
I mean, when I saw the stone, I was like, what exactly is going on? It's not that like a stone came symbolic just to put a stone there. You saw the clergy surround it, and worshiping it. What's going on?
Well, I know charismatics will say that is not on at all.
What? No, actually, but this is serious, because it seemed the stone was being prayed for, worshipped.
Maybe it might be the cornerstone that the builders rejected.
Oh, please, Archie. It is not like the way you drink communion, you raise it up to God, you bless it,
and then.
And what is it going? Is it the one that? And the other thing that is also strange for me, which I don't understand, this is a public event, but they are telling us at the time the Archbishop, who will be wearing black, I think, or something like that, will be pouring the oil, anointing him. The public will not see that. I ask myself, hello.
He drinks some sniffy. It becomes.
I mean, we watch it. We watch it closely. And I bet everyone, if you can record it. Because some pastors will need to begin answering some questions.
Okay, I'm going to be preparing my answers. Okay, listeners. I want to say thank you very much for joining us today. Tomorrow we're going to be bringing you the results. By tomorrow morning it would have all unfolded, and we'll be telling you who has done well, and we'll be telling you more about what is happening in Nigeria, Ghana, and across the globe. But until then, have a lovely afternoon. And from Frank and myself, we say bye bye for now, and see you all tomorrow.
The problem of Africa is the elite. Who run things, who run things, who run things. The problem of Africa is the elite. Who run things, who run things, who run things. Them all go to universities. Universities award them degrees. Big degrees. Degrees. Big degrees. Masters in looting, MSc in corruption, Bachelor of Science in nepotism, MSc in forgery, Bachelor of Arts in indiscipline, MSc in embezzlement. The problem of Africa is daily. Who run things, who run things, who
This is Starr Radio UK.
The problem of Africa is daily.
Thanks for listening.
Some of them, when